you very much, and thank you for that very warm introduction, and good morning. Let me just say what an honor it is to be with you this morning, and to thank you, and to thank your board member, who is our executive director, Bill Gould, for your leadership, his leadership, and for really making sure that the founding principles of ADA are incorporated in everything we do each and every day. And we need you more than ever now, more than ever. We must fulfill the #1 issue, and of course the promise that we made in November to the American people, and that is to bring our young men and women home. That is our first priority. This is a civil war that's occurring. Our young men and women are refereeing a civil war, unfortunately, and it is an occupation. And the sooner we do this, the better. Otherwise, as unfortunately the Bush administration has said very recently, the South Korea model, the 50-year presence will be upon us. And we know that that is part of the design and their plan from Jump Street. And that's why Congresswoman Woolsey and myself, as co-chairs of the Progressive Caucus, have been working day and night, day and night. Of course, we didn't support it from Jump Street in terms of this occupation. However, once the authorization was granted, then we started with you to try to end it, and end it as quickly as we can. And let me just take a moment to salute Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey, because it was 2 years ago that she started beating the drum about withdrawal. And she wouldn't stop until we got a vote. And it was amazing, because 2 years ago, what, 122 votes, 128 votes, which really set the bar and the standard for what we're doing today. So this has been remarkable, Lynn. If it hadn't been for your leadership and making us do that, I don't think we'd be as far as we are today. And so I just want to give you a round of applause. You know, just very briefly, I'll talk about what we see as what next, because many people are asking what next after the election and where we are now. Occupation still going on. Countless Iraqi civilians in the hundreds of thousands have died, and over 3,500 of our brave young troops have died. And for many of us, what next is really not a theoretical question, but it's a moral question that requires political action. And I think you know, as members of ADA, what political action can do. And it's clear that the occupation must end, and we're going to have to end it. The Bush administration and the president, it will not end it. And we know that. So Congress must step in and exercise our authority, our responsibility to address the funding of this occupation. And let me say how we should address it. And you know, oftentimes we're charged with talking about cutting off the funds for our troops. The press tries to make us believe that those of us, or make the public believe that those of us who want to bring our troops home want to stop feeding them. They want you to believe that we want to pull the weapons, their armor, away from them. Well, that is just not the case. What we are talking about when we say let's end this, we're talking about what is incorporated in Congresswoman Woolsey's bill, H.R. 508, which all of us have co-sponsored and provided input and provisions in. We want to require the administration to fully fund withdrawal, to protect our troops with the money that we put up. If it's $100 billion, if it's $90 billion, whatever it takes, protect our troops and bring them home. That's going to cost money, but that's what we should use our tax dollars for, and that's what these supplemental bills should be used for. That's what we're trying to do. Also, we're saying that the funds that we provide to this administration should also be used to provide for reconstruction efforts and for a strong, meaningful diplomatic initiative in the region. We bombed the heck out of Iraq. We've killed hundreds of thousands of people. we do have a moral responsibility to help reconstruct the country and to help Iraqis put their lives back together again. And so we believe that very strongly, and we must do that. But that does not mean we want our troops to continue to referee the Civil War. And so they need to be brought home, and they need to be brought home now. That costs money, and that's okay. We'll give them the money to do that, but not to continue the war. That is totally what we do not intend to do. And that was the basis upon which we moved forward on this last supplemental when we introduced what became known as the Lee Amendment. It was co-sponsored by Congresswoman Woolsey and Waters, and the three of us decided we were going to try to get the House of Representatives to begin to understand what fully funded withdrawal meant. But of course, given the dynamics of what takes place there, we never got that amendment to the floor. But we are building support for a fully funded withdrawal, and we must do that throughout the summer. In addition to that, we, again, as I mentioned earlier, the president talked about a 50-year president, the South Korea model. No permanent basis should be a policy decision and the law, which actually it is. It was put into, that provision was put into several of the defense authorization and appropriations bill, but we know this president violates the law each and every day. And so how do we hold him accountable to what the Congress has passed, which really is a critical question, because this administration is lawless. They do their own thing. They don't care about accountability. They really don't seem to really understand the basic tenets of democracy and what the Congress's role is in this war-making venture. And so it's going to be up to us. There's a lot of work to do, and this is what we must do throughout the summer. I think it's important for ADA and for all of our unbelievable progressive organizations to make sure, first of all, that Democrats remain Democrats, and that our Democratic Party becomes a bit more democratic, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So we got to do that, and let's take this summer to build and to support what we're doing on the inside to hopefully begin to change this course. And that is, we're going to push forward, we're going to fight to end it by putting forth bills, amendments, H.R. 508, the Lee Amendment, fully funded withdrawal, no permanent basis. Everything we can do, we're going to do. And I hope that we can count on all of you to make sure that your members of Congress understand that they need to support Lynn Woolsey, Barbara Lee, and Maxine Waters in our efforts. The pressure's going to be put on them on the outside. They're going to begin to feel the heat. We know that many organizations will be in many members of Congress's districts this summer, organizing, trying to explain the reality of why we need to get out of this occupation. And so we're going to have to exercise our political power and clout. The American people demand that. They require us to do that. And we must, again, understand that the next, unfortunately, theater is Iran. The drumbeats are building to begin to look at an attempt to go into Iran. Whether it's a first strike, a preemptive strike, whatever it is, we should say no to that, and we should insist that all of the Democrats do not allow or do not authorize or require at least a debate on using force against Iran. And so we're in a defining moment, I think, in this country. ADA is a defining moment, but it's your principles, it's your values, it's your progressive viewpoints and your understanding of what it takes to achieve global peace and security. That's what needs to happen here in Washington, D.C. So I want to thank you again for being here. Thank you for working throughout the country for years and years and years to make sure that our Democratic Party lives up to its true ideals, and that our Democrats stand for who we are and who we know we should be. Oftentimes we may forget that, but it's because of you that we try to stay on track. So thank you again, and have a good day.